At the end of this Journey to Hope, we will have a bonus Journey to Hope message from our very own Bruce Garut. So please stick around for that. In the meantime, Journey to Hope, number 11, October 2022. The better the follower, the better the leader. Written by Dan Wolgemuth, read by Mike Duncan. It was an article in Entrepreneur magazine in 2021 that caught my eye. Followers first, then leaders. I fear that often in our celebrity culture, we elevate power over humility. We celebrate confidence over wisdom. Let's start with a basic reality. All of us follow someone. We do. Whether we acknowledge that reality or not, it's an inevitable part of who we are and how we learn. With this premise, I become increasingly aware of the importance of who or what I follow. I'm not necessarily talking about who I work for or who would precede me on an organizational chart, but rather what voices and ideas and thoughts guide my steps. As you would suspect, this is of vital importance on our journey to hope. The word follower has taken on new meaning and, frankly, more cultural significance over the past decade. In some regard, influencers have replaced role models, and likes have amplified the voices of the qualified and unqualified. Sometimes following is involuntary, a function of who is in front of you in a line of traffic or at the checkout counter. Perhaps it can feel that way in an organizational context as well. But in this case, I'm not referring to who does your performance review, but rather whose voice impacts and guides you. What frequency are you tuned to? What voice is amplified in your heart, mind, and soul? What I've come to discover is that individuals who follow well most often lead well. And whether you realize it or not, you are both a follower and a leader. The best leaders are learners, individuals who thoughtfully pay attention to the situations at hand and adjust, react, and proceed with wisdom and courage. The best leaders are unselfish. Perhaps they have understood that leadership is not about individual acclaim or accomplishment, but about a shared achievement. The best leaders acknowledge that they too are under authority. That accountability is not a constraint, but a guide. Who are you following? Whose voice speaks loudest to you? The answer to those two questions not only impacts your journey, but the journey of those who consider you their leader. The journey to hope demands an honest assessment and careful consideration. You owe it to yourself and to others. Choose wisely, live humbly, follow honorably, lead thoughtfully. And now for our bonus, Journey to Hope by our own Bruce Garut. This is titled Journey from Hope. While listening to Mike's narrative of Dan's words, I was reminded of a journey from hope that my father and I once undertook. See, Hope is a small town at the end of a road on the west side of Turnagain Arm on the Kenai Peninsula of Alaska. One bright and sunny day, we set out on a 30-mile trek up and over and through the Kenai mountain range that makes up this part of the peninsula. The first part was arduous as we started out at sea level, and for miles we climbed upward along this steep and winding path that was littered with switchbacks. Eventually, though, we broke out on top, above the tree line, into a long valley that stretched for a mile or more. We had arrived at the perfect time of year, and the valley was ablaze with the vibrant colors of fireweed and many other wildflowers in full bloom. As we sat beside a cabin and ate our lunch, we marveled at the beauty that surrounded us. We listened to the whistling of marmots as they scurried from boulder to boulder. We lingered and took photos for a little while longer but we still had 10 more miles to go before we planned on setting up camp for the night, so eventually we bid the valley adieu. Although we force-marched for 20 miles that day, the fact was that we were traveling at a slow pace that allowed us to enjoy every step of the journey and the incredible scenic beauty that surrounded us on all sides. So whether one is traveling to or from hope, I find that it is good to remember the journey brings us the greatest satisfaction, not the destination.